I'm delighted to present my research in this symposium. Thank you very much to the organizers for inviting me, and it's a very special pleasure also to be part of the magazine that focuses on varieties of Germany. And I know that it's also a very special privilege to speak in the last panel. And the audience is probably getting tired. So I will try to be audience-friendly and not to look into my paper too much. And I will also try to a little bit reveal the process behind my contribution. Because for me it was an intellectual and, let's say, visual journey very much organized around the photographs that I was able to put together. My contribution is bringing together 3 life stories of Jewish and Roma child survivors from the territories that are now the borderlands between Belarus and Lithuania. But I will tell you a little bit how I figured it out, because it wasn't that clear from the beginning. And actually, when the editorial team approached me and asked to write a contribution about the varieties of Germany, I was my first reaction was, what do I have to contribute to the varieties of Germany, despite myself being from Belarus and working at German universities. Because, believe me or not, I've never thought about German occupation of Eastern Europe as part of German history. Though I was growing very much with memories, and at the time oral memories, of the German occupation. I think it partially has to do with the fact that the German occupation of Eastern Europe is researched mostly at the institutions with regional focus. And that's why I think that the museum's efforts to actually rediscover these histories of the occupation and integrate them into German history should be appreciated. So, naturally, I started my search in the collections of the Deutsches Historisches Museum, and this is a photo I found. And for me, it was a perfect image of German occupiers. So what do we see here? There are no direct indicators, no names, no exact place, no exact time when this photo was taken. But we see 2 Wehrmacht soldiers sitting in a yard of a simple wooden house, presumably somewhere in Lithuania. Very confident, smoking, drinking from beautiful cups. The table was probably set by someone else, and excluding the confidence of masters. And this is exactly how the German occupiers were remembered when I was growing up in Belarus. And in my mind, that photograph immediately came into conflict with these images. The photographs that I saw in the collections of the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum when I was doing my research there. And these are the photographs from the Lithuanian Belarusian borderland from the interwar time, mostly from Jewish families. There are many of them, and what you can see here, you can see people relaxing in nature, cycling, watching their children, walking to school. So these are photographs of peaceful life of the multi-ethnic community of the town of Regensburg. We don't have many photographs from the Roma community, but Regensburg also had several hundreds of Roma people as its pre-war population. This one I found in a family archive. I don't know the exact name of the people, but we can see a group of people, presumably Roma, or some of them Roma, celebrating perhaps a family occasion, maybe a wedding, because the two people in focus look like perhaps a bride and a groom. And then this photograph, again from the USHMM collections, that somehow stayed with me. I saw it for the first time more than 10 years ago. So little Yaffa Sonnensohn in a family summer house, feeding chickens on the very same day when Germans occupied her town. A face of a happy child, smiling and carefree. Behind the camera is Alte Katz, Yaffa's grandmother, and she was a community photographer, and this was the last photograph she took. So, as at the time I was at the USHMM, I also learned that it was the same Yaffa who created one of their main highlights, at the Tower of Faces, with portraits of her community. That was lost in the massacre in Regensburg in September 1941, and her grandmother, Alte Katz, was among them. So I immediately felt like I'd like to know more, and luckily there was an oral history interview available with Yaffa Elia, a historian and formerly a curator at the USHMM. So I learned how Yaffa and her family survived. And they were among just 29 survivors of their community of more than 3,000. Yaffa's family was placed in a ghetto, fled, went into hiding, lost one baby, had to abandon another one, went through all the horrors only for the mother of the family, Tsipra, to be killed in anti-Semitic violence after the German retreat. Yaffa's father, Moshe, was arrested by the NKVD, Soviet secret police, and deported to Kazakhstan. Eventually, with the help of an uncle who happened to have a British passport, Yaffa was able to leave for Palestine. Yaffa became a historian trained in the US, and she devoted her life to preserving the memory of her lost community, collecting the photographs of her community scattered all around the world at the time when there was no internet. But when I looked at this photo, I immediately think about another girl, Galina, a Roma survivor from this very same region. And unfortunately, I don't have her photographs as a child. But I met her and I interviewed her in 2015. This is a photograph of Galina as an elderly woman. And just like Yaffa in 1941, Galina was peacefully living with her extended family in another Lithuanian town in Kaunas. Her parents came both from Roma background, and they had typical for that time transnational biography. Her mother was from Minsk, her father from Kaunas. They didn't travel before the war, but owned a house in Kaunas. The situation in Kaunas was very dangerous from the very beginning of the occupation. And there were many episodes of anti-Semitic violence, including the infamous Kaunas pogrom against the Jews. And the family of Savage Galina family decided to flee to the countryside, which is now the border between Belarus and Lithuania. They managed to rent homes and found work on local peasant farms. So it seemed like they found safe haven until in November 1942, Germans initiated a raid in Novosady. 42 Roma, Galina's family among them, and one Jewish person were taken to the edge of the forest and killed. Among them were Galina's parents and other relatives. Galina, along with her 2 sisters and brother, were rescued by a local woman who managed to hide them on her farm. And the monument you see here was raised by Galina on her own means in 1999, after the fall of the Soviet Union, because neither the Holocaust nor the genocide of Roma was properly commemorated during the Soviet time. And the inscription on the monument reflects a lifetime of mourning. To my dearly loved mommy, Kristina Vansevich, and father Ivan, to all who died a horrible death here, remembered by the deeply mourning daughter Galina and the son-in-law Valik. So now I'm supposed to arrive at some sort of conclusion. And what do we have as a result of my visual intellectual exercise and what we can learn from it? We have, in my talk, 2 life stories, and in my contribution, 3 life stories, and 2 examples of memorialization. Both of these are life stories overshadowed by the Nazi genocide and German occupation. Most probably, my girls never met in real time. Or maybe the paths of their parents crossed because they visited the same localities before World War II. But bringing these stories together helps us put both genocides in the local historical context and think about encounters and intersections instead of comparisons and differences. And the second thing is, why should we actually care about these highly marginalized histories from the margins of Eastern Europe? I think we should, because it actually helps us to see how the genocidal and occupational policies developed in Nazi Germany extended to the level of human suffering. And without comprehending these consequences of violence, we can't fully grasp the meaning of genocide. Thank you very much for your attention.